Planning Commission meeting. My name is Ryan Austin. Let me mute here quick. My name is Ryan Austin. I am the District 1 alderperson for the city of Wisconsin Rapids. I'll be pinch hitting here for Mayor Shane. He is unable to attend tonight. So we'll do a quick roll call. We'll go around the room here, starting with Gary. Roll call.
Austin,
Here.
Tao, Feith, Burkhart, Mayor Blazer is excused. Davin,
Here.
Goodrow.
Here.
We have 5, and that is a quorum.
I see we have a couple folks here on Zoom. Esser. Okay. And it looks like the number dropped off. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 1, approval of the report of the March 7, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. What are the commission's wishes?
I'll second.
Motion by Feith, second by Tao. Oh, Davin?
No.
Sorry. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2, Vanderwall and Associates, Wisconsin Rapids Recovery and Redevelopment Plan update. Kyle?
So thank you. So the consultant did not have a memo like they have the last 2 meetings because there wasn't a whole lot of updates, except for, I think the most important, which is the special meeting between Plan Commission and Common Council scheduled for May 10th at 5 p.m. in the Aquatic Center Community Room. And that will be a planning style format where we will, or the consultant and staff will present materials to the Plan Commission and the council, and then be looking for your initial feedback. After that meeting, we also have tentatively scheduled a public meeting, which we're still waiting to confirm, but that'll be, I believe, the 3rd or 4th week of May. That's all I have for the update.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, moving on to item number 3, Philip M. Daschel, extraterritorial CSM, request for certified survey map approval for the creation of 1 lot, which is under 5 acres within the town of Rudolph. The subject property is west of 3rd Ave and north of Oak Road, parcel ID 1700425. Kyle?
So the next 2 items I'll discuss jointly. They're very similar, although they differ in about a mile apart. They're both for land divisions within our extraterritorial control for subdivision development. And they both, or I should say this first one is in regards to the creation of 1 lot that's under 5 acres. So again, we have that extraterritorial control. The subject property is about 2 miles from the city boundaries, and it's a smaller lot. I believe this one is about 3 acres, and it is for single-family development. We don't necessarily have any concerns with regards to its proximity to the city, as well as the adjacency of some other lots of similar size along this road. So we would recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve as
Motion
presented.
motion by Davin,
Second that.
second by Tao. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor, respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Gotcha. Shane's on as well. We got you, Susan. Any opposed? No. Okay. Item number 4, James Wallach, extraterritorial CSM. Request for certified survey map approval for the creation of 2 lots, one of which is under 5 acres within the town of Rudolph. The subject property is east of 6th Ave and north of Pine Road, parcel ID 1700375. So that was kind of combined with item number 3. So are there any questions or comments by Commission?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Goodrow. I'll second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go on to vote. All in favor respond with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 5, Plan 22-000184, Chad Worrell, request for a site plan review to construct an accessory structure at 850 Rosecrans Street, parcel ID 3401550. Mr. Kearns?
I'll be turning it over to Carrie, who will give a brief review of the staff report. Thank you.
All right, Chair Austin, members of the commission, the item before you is for Mr. Chad Worrell, who has been operating a successful custom welding and fabricating shop for several years. The business has outgrown the existing space to the extent that the applicant is requesting site plan review to construct a detached accessory structure to accommodate the growth. In February, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted approval for the proposed accessory building to be constructed to allow 1 foot front, side, and rear yard setback. And the applicant has submitted plans to construct the structure that differed from that approval. So he is scheduled to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a subsequent variance approval to extend that structure further along the side and rear yard setbacks. So the site plan before you is what will be going to that Zoning Board of Appeals later this month. So after analysis, it is consistent with the M1 zoning. It meets dimensional standards and is consistent with use for that area. Staff sees no issues with ingress and egress or parking. Landscaping is not required because it is an accessory structure, and so it is considered separately from if it were an extension of a principal structure. In looking at architectural review, the architecture is similar to the principal structure. One item I would like to note, the rendering in front of you in the staff report does show a 2-foot eave in the center kind of that accessory structure. As it stands now, if the proposed building were going to be 1 foot from that property line, a 2-foot eave would not be possible. So the rendering would look slightly different, and that eave would only be a 1 foot, which would give kind of a different look to that. And so I just want to note that. And the lighting and photometrics also we feel are consistent. So the proposed building is permitted and appropriate. We don't believe the proposed use and site operations would be detrimental to the site itself or to the vicinity. And we're proposing approval with conditions.
Thanks, Carrie. Mr. Worrell, would you like to speak?
After you guys reviewed the site plan and the application and my attachments, do you have any questions?
I have a question regarding the fence line. Is that something that you are putting up yourself then, or? I just see near the end of the slides, I think it was 34 out of 51 for our report. There's a new fence line proposed.
Yes, the issue with the zoning board was because I'm too close to the neighbor to the north, and I'm in good standing with the neighbor in the neighborhood. I think we had like 8 or 9 letters of recommendation or neighbors that approved me with this expansion. I'm working that out with them because obviously if you see the the fence in real life, it's on their property, and because I'm doing all the new renovations, I told them I would help take down the old wooden fence and put up a black cyclone with privacy slats, and I would cover the cost and make sure that was on my property. So, and we'll have plenty of space between my with the new setback. With the new rendering, I'm only going to be approximately three foot from the lot line instead of 1 foot, like I requested. With that, the staff recommends the approval of the request, which is wonderful, but it says subject to the following conditions. I can live with A, B, D, and E. I would like C, F, and G removed out of that if possible, out of the motion. As you can see on my attachment G, there's some side wall-mounted lights in between every other garage door. That lights up in front of each stall, which is nice. I don't want to be hung up on some lighting. Those lights face the woods across the street. There are no neighbors to the south. I think if you drive down A Street at about 11 o'clock at night, 90% of those businesses are all, they don't comply. So I just don't want to get hung up on any lighting issues. Of course, on the new building, I will have one more of those wall-mounted lights above the door, or I might have some, under that 1-foot overhang, have some recessed lights to shine down onto the sidewalk in front. And the reason why I don't like the wording for F is because if you've ever built anything or looked at plans, just to give you an example, everything looks good on paper, but when it comes time to fabricate in real life, you got to make a few minor changes. I don't feel like running down to City Hall, or if you do something on a Saturday, I need approval because we went 6 inches here or there. But anybody that's been in construction knows that if the print says 4 inches, sometimes you got to make changes and make an inch here or there. The reason why we had the problem with the zoning board is, I guess it was my fault. I didn't know that they were, I thought they were only voting on this, the 1-foot setback. Instead, on the, if you look on the top drawing of the site plan, aerial view down, you can see that square jog to the northwest corner. I need that extra room for the mechanical room. The shop is actually, the working shop is going to be 22 by 50. I need a 15-foot by approximately 30 feet behind the shop, the mechanical room, which will hold all the air compressors and water heaters for the in-floor heat, so on and so forth. But I need a staircase that's going to go up to the second story. And with that, of course, you got to follow codes with commercial staircase to every, I think, what is it, 12 steps, you need a landing, and then another 12. So I need approximately 30 feet from start to finish to get that staircase up to the second story. So if anybody's wondering why that jog goes back to the northwest instead of a rectangle-shaped building, that's why. So with that being said, once we finalize the design and the drawings and things, you know, just like they the city staff did, right, they wrote in their report too about the 3 windows in the front. I can't be held to that either. With the times of the world, I may order 3 large windows. They might be back ordered for 5 years. I might have to put 5 small ones in. So I just don't want, you know, to be held to the sketch.
Any questions for Mr. Worrell? Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments by commission?
I just had a question, maybe Kyle, about the foot candles. So it says 1 foot candle at the neighboring property lines, and then 2 foot at to the south. So would that be measured at, like, at the property line or at the neighbor's property lines, like across the street at Rosecrans? Would that be measured all the way across the street there is where the measurement would take?
So there's a difference between residential properties. It's 0.1 foot candle for residential properties, so that's directly adjacent to the lot and would be, I guess, on the back side of the development. The 0.2 foot candles at the property line to the south is adjacent to I believe another manufacturing or industrial property, but it also is right adjacent to the public right-of-way. I don't think the street is lit at all, is it? There's not a,
No, the only power pole with a street arc light is right on the corner of 9th and Rosecrans to the south, just on the very back corner. Kitty corner to where the Little Pink, the back of the Little Pink restaurant.
Yeah, I think we can see it in the picture here.
So there are streetlights placed throughout the switch yard of the railroad every so many 100 feet, so they can see the tracks right there, right to the east.
I guess, Kyle, would the measurement be taken right at the property line, like right in front of his doors, or would it be taken across the street at the neighbor's line?
so if it's directly adjacent, it'd be taken at the neighbor's line. I think when the street comes into play, we can take it across the street. We did this similarly when Connexus did their off-site parking lot, and they wanted light within the right-of-way to light up the pedestrian crosswalk. So in that case, it was appropriate, and I think the same could be said here, that it would be at the other side, the other property line across the street right-of-way.
Which is woods and ditch.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure how much .2, is that
Yeah, it's,
our number to understand?
and I was just looking in the code to see if there was any waiver of the ability for Plan Commission to waive that, and there isn't, not at least any that I see within the code. It does allow staff to make minor modifications or to amend an approved lighting plan where it's appropriate, but amending a lighting plan from something that was adopted by Plan Commission is different than allowing for light to, trespass in an increased intensity at another property. And that's where the requirement exists. It says you cannot exceed 0.2 foot candles onto another commercial, industrial, or institutional use. So because the use is across the street, that's where the measurement, I think, can be taken. Regardless of what the use is, it's utilized, I think, as an industrial use. And that's the way we've got to interpret the ordinance.
Do you think there's a need for concern with the type of lighting Mr. Worrell is describing?
He's not using, parking lot lighting. I think it's just the building lighting. So, I think if that's a concern, we could, maybe require cutoff fixtures to minimize any light trespass or things of that nature. But no, it's not a big concern.
Yeah, I would say it'd be pretty important for some lighting in the front of your business as the
Yeah,
welding
well,
activities probably go later than
The
5.
brighter it is, the better. It keeps
Right.
people away at night for vandalism.
Any other questions or comments by commission?
I do have a comment with regards to the condition G. That really exists so that if he wants to do 2 windows instead of 3, I think you've got 2 or 3 proposed. A change like that could be considered minor to where he would not have to come back to the commission, but staff could just approve a minor change like that. So it's not necessarily in the event that it's burdensome to you, but more so it gives you the flexibility for staff to approve a minor change from these plans, such as, something architectural, or, if you propose lights and then you wanted to change those lights, staff would have the ability with that condition to approve that change.
But that's a lot of power to leave in staff's hands. What if I decide to put 10 windows to the east and you tell me no?
Well, then you'd have to come, if this condition doesn't exist, you'd have to come back before the body to get that approval. Yep, because the architectural review includes the architectural rendering that you've provided today.
But that should all the details should be in the building permit when I submit the actual drawings. I mean,
But
this
the
is just an
drawings today
this is
should
just
be
your
final
exterior, this is an
as well.
exterior rendering. But what about the building permit and all the details, you know?
So the exterior drawings and the site plan today are supposed to be fairly final, with the understanding that, yeah, you could have a window height that's shown on a rendering that's actually 4 inches above where it's shown on the rendering, just due to the spacing required, or the hip height needed for that window in that occupied space. And that's what those minor, that condition regarding minor modifications allows staff to approve.
I think that would benefit you, just because then you won't have to come back and, or wait till our next meeting if, you know, if you need and make some changes. The staff could go ahead and approve that prior to, or, you know, that would be a faster step for you than waiting for one of our meetings to approve it as a commission.
I agree.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on removing item F?
You know, that's there more so just to solidify the approval. Essentially, it's required regardless, just like condition C, regardless the lighting standard, because it's adopted city code is required. We just more so add them as conditions as a reminder to the owner that when we issued the decision document and the building permit, these conditions usually are placed on those documents. And again, it's more of a reminder to the individual that those requirements need to be met.
So to me, I mean, it seems, I understand the cause for concern of, you know, potential restriction as Mr. Worrell moves through with his final design on his project, but to me, these recommendations, I don't think are going to be too invasive for you. So I'm going to make a motion to approve Plan 22-000184 with staff recommendations, following staff recommendations.
I'll second as well, and I think G definitely gives that umbrella of minor modifications not to have to come back to this commission as well. You could work with staff, and if there is something, I think it'll benefit you to come back if it's not something that they're working out.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Anyone online? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on, item number 6, Plan 22-000198, C&C Steckbauer LLC, request for an architectural review to perform facade improvements to the building at 150 2nd Street North, parcel ID 3408144, which falls within the Downtown Design Overlay District. Mr. Kearns?
Thank you. So this is a request to install a new door or opening on the exterior wall within the Downtown Design Review District. This district exists primarily to preserve the historic significance of those downtown properties and to ensure that the improvements that are being proposed aren't going to reduce that historic character. And so this project is also tied with a project that the applicant has, which will be coming to a future meeting relatively soon for this adjacent lot. So last fall or last summer, the city sold this parking lot behind the Bender Law Office to the applicant to develop as an outdoor space. That space is being designed and finalized currently, and again, will come back at a later date for approval. But right now, given the contractor's schedules and the timing of the project, their intent is to put in a door that would only affect the current tavern property. And so again, there's the design review standards, specifically the architectural standards within the zoning code that come into play. And those primarily relate to the improvement and it matching with the rest of the design within the downtown and on the building. And as you can see from the staff report and the rendering, This is a typical commercial storefront door with full glass. I believe it's aluminum framing. It'll be black to match the other black components on the building and several other doors within the downtown. And again, it will primarily serve as an entrance/exit for the adjacent future patio, but can also be used after its installation immediately by any of the patrons to the tavern. With that being said, there are a couple other standards with regarding street edge, which may not be applicable because it's, while it's visible from the street, it's not abutting the street, as well as a standard regarding entrances, that they be clearly defined, and we feel as though this does just that. The rendering you see is from the plans, again, that have not yet been final with regards to the adjacent lot and development, which shows an awning extending above the doorway. Again, that awning is not part of the approval tonight, simply the door that's proposed in that facade. We feel as though the architectural standards in the Downtown Design Review District are met and would recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kearns. Mr. Steckbauer, I assume? Go ahead and introduce yourself. If you'd like to say something, the floor is yours. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Steckbauer? Any questions or comments by commission?
Are you planning on painting any of the brick then? Or a covering? Okay. Years and years, yeah. Yeah, and the height of it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, what are the commission's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. Go ahead, Susan.
Question about that jump platform off the back of Bender's building. Is that still a viable, from there?
Susan, can you repeat the question? The mic wasn't turned on for you.
Sorry, seems to be like perennial problem with mics. My question has to do with the jump platform on the second floor of the Bender building, and whether or not that's still a viable jump exit platform.
So the jump platform isn't part of this approval and this design review. It will likely be included in the next approval that'll come to Plan Commission within the next couple of weeks. And I'm not sure from a building code standpoint if it would be required now because the second floor is not occupied space. And I believe the construction project to improve that space has elapsed. In other words, that the improvements are not occurring right now, and the building permits for those improvements on the second floor were not complete. But I believe if it is occupied space, it would be considered a new use and would have to meet secondary exit requirements.
Kyle, are you talking about their second floor or Bender's second floor?
She's talking about Bender's, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The, like, fire escape or their
Yeah, I
stairwell?
think, Chris, you're keeping 6 feet from your property to the, or you're keeping a space 6 feet in width between your improvements and Bender's building, correct? And I believe the fire department has acknowledged that that would be enough space to perform a rescue or a recovery there.
So does that constitute a private alley then?
No, I don't believe it would. I think, and I haven't seen the survey, I think there was a survey done during transfer of property that identified that vendors own 5 feet. Is that correct, or 3? Okay.
Well, I would assume that vendor has been notified that this is under consideration then, correct?
Is your mic on?
Okay.
Okay.
No. He attended the meeting for the sale of the lot, and I speak with him regularly, so he has a very good idea of what's transpiring next door.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go on to vote. All in favor, respond with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. On to item number 7. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I do have one quick comment before that motion. Just a reminder that we do have a special meeting on the 18th of April, 4 PM in this room. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, respond with aye. Aye. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Goodbye.